Hey, what's going on, guys? Tsun Tsun here, coming out with another video. This time we're going to be going over defense. What we're going to be going over about defense is the basics of defense, advanced tips on defense, defending an ally when they're getting rallied or attacked, and hiving. Should you do it or should you not do it? The pros and cons of creating a hive. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So, basics of defense. Defense is a very important thing. Protecting your troops, your leader, your resources, it's all very vital to supporting not only yourself, but your guild as well. If you get zeroed, not only are you costing yourself resources, money, troops, and 3 days of not having your leader, but you're also costing the benefit of your troop or your guild being able to have extra troops to fill rallies, extra troops to be reinforced with, resources to possibly supply allies with, and just the morale drop of one of their fellow guildmates getting zeroed. So obviously I think the easiest way to start this off is, what should you do to defend yourself? Well, easiest thing, popping a shield. So in the turf boost, I know this is really simple and that everyone should know it, but under turf defenses you have shields, right? Obviously you don't need to really worry about this candy shield, but you have 4-hour shield, an 8-hour shield, 24-hour shield, 3 days, 7 days, and a 14-day shield. Now I know not everyone's gonna have 170 plus of all these shields, or 6 3 days and 60 24-hour shields, but using gems, if you don't have a 24-hour shield or if you don't have an 8-hour shield, using gems for these is a lot better than getting zeroed. And you're gonna hear me say that a lot. Doing a lot of these things is a lot better than getting zeroed. Using gems to save yourself, it's a lot better than getting zeroed, because you're gonna have to spend a lot of gems to rebuild all those troops you're losing. So just do it. Like, protect yourself. Don't risk getting zeroed. Alright, so next thing, if you do go offline, switch out of research and construction gear. Switch out of production gear. I know that you guys want to produce all these resources when you guys go offline. You want to contribute to the bank. It's a lot more beneficial if you go offline in attack gear than if you go offline in any other kind of gear. Because if you don't check your shield for some reason, I've personally experienced having a bug on my shield where I had less than 8 hours left on my shield. I popped a 24 because I was going to go offline, and it only gave me half of the bar, so I only had 12 hours left. Luckily I caught it. I witnessed that it went down to 12 hours, and I popped another 24 to get the full duration. But if I didn't catch that, I went offline in research gear and my shield dropped for whatever reason, I'd be screwed, because I wouldn't get all the bonuses of having my attack gear. I know that not everyone has the same attack, but let's just take myself for example. I would lose over 100 of each attack type. I would lose 25% army attack and over 50% army defense and HP. That's huge when it comes to getting attacked. So make sure you switch into attack gear when you go offline. I know it's tedious, I know it's something extra you have to do, not everyone has gear sets, but it could save you troops. You might survive a couple more rallies or attacks that you need to get online before you get zeroed. You might even fend them off and they might just give up. So switch into attack gear and save yourself and your teammates some extra troops. Alright, also along with that, make sure you switch into battle talents. Obviously I don't have all my talents set right now, but switch into attack talents when you go offline as well. It might cost you 1,000 gems to do it, but switch into attack talents, because like I said, there's been too many of my own guildmates that their shields dropped, they couldn't log in, they were at work or something, they're in the wrong gear and talents, someone comes in and attacks them, and we can't we can't support defending them for very long because their troops don't. The troops that we're reinforcing with and their troops just don't have any stats. Alright, next thing. Anti-scout. Very important. Pop an anti-scout. Even if it's the same duration as your shield. Like, because if you do something and your shield comes off and someone scouts you, let's say you poured into the forest for some reason, right? And you had a shield on, but you didn't ever pop the anti-scout because you're used to always being shielded. If you poured into the forest, let's say, I know a lot of people did it for Bon Vivien. People would pour into the forest and I'd scout them and they wouldn't have anti-scout up. Then I know exactly how many troops they got. I know if they have their leader up, I know what resources they have, everything. So make sure you have anti-scout up, because if your shield does come down, then at least people won't know what you have. Next thing we're going to go over is your shelter. So this is a good basic way to protect yourself. A lot of free-to-play accounts or new players coming into the game, this is a very good thing. It wasn't out when I first started playing, but they introduced it and it saves a lot. So you can shelter for 12 hours, up to 210,000. You can boost this up with your troop boost, but you can shelter your leader and be safe. You can protect some extra troops. It's a really good thing to use. There's other ways to protect yourself, but this is one of the better ones. Alright, next thing we're going to is infirmaries and gathering. So I know a lot of people like to gather. You can gather while shielded, you can gather unshielded, but something that I've been seeing a lot of people do is gather with more troops than you have for your infirmaries. I don't recommend doing this because people will attack your gathering tiles, and if you don't have the infirmary space to cover it, then you're going to lose troops, and that's just like getting attacked at your turf. So even if you're gathering less resources than you have the capability of doing, it's going to cost you more resources than you're possibly going to gather to build those troops back than if you were to just gather with what fills your infirmary. So if you have a ton of infirmary space, by all means do it up, but if you don't, just send what you can to fill that infirmary just in case. Worst case scenario, you get a full infirmary and you just gotta heal those troops. Next thing and last thing for basics of defense is reinforcing and garrisoning your shielded teammates. So you can send up to 300,000 troops when you're reinforcing somebody. If I had a troop boost on, I would be able to send 300,000 troops to this guy, right? So right now I can send 200 because I have a normal thing. But you can send up to as many armies as you have. I don't recommend sending all 5 to 8 armies that you have. I would recommend sending at least one less. And the reason for that is because you can also garrison. Now garrisoning it's kind of like the shelter in a way. The one thing is you can send extra heroes, which you don't really need to do. The only thing that sending extra heroes does is gives you extra troops. So if I was to garrison, I could send, if this works, okay, I can send my leader and 4 heroes, and I'd be able to send 250,000, right? Which would be 375 if I pop the troop boost. So taking this account, you can have 1.575 million troops hiding in your teammates' shields. That's if you have 5 armies. If you have more than that, then you can hide more. You can only send 1 reinforcement to each teammate, but you can garrison and reinforce the same person. For instance, if I was to reinforce this guy, I could send 1 troop. You can send obviously more, but I can also garrison. And I can send my leader with this garrison. So as you can see, I killed 2 birds with 1 stone, and then whenever I want, I can recall these back to the castle. Like so. Important thing to note when you're doing this, make sure you do this with somebody that's going to have a shield up and you know how long their shield's going to be. A lot of the time, something that's smart, if your teammate's going to have a shield up for a long time, have them post guild messages. Hey, pop in a 3-day shield, go ahead and hide your troops. And then make sure you set an alarm if you're going to hide those troops for those 3 days. Set an alarm for that person, and I'd also check just to make sure that your troops don't come back, because sometimes someone will rally and they'll have to pop their shield and then they'll have to pop a new one and it'll send troops back. So just make sure that you check up on it occasionally, and you make sure you know when their shield is going to expire. Alright, so that's it for basics. Next thing we're going to is advanced defense. And to start that off, we're going to go into setting quote-unquote traps. What do I mean by traps? A trap is a defensive trap is pretty much someone that's set with full reinforcements, right? So each person sends exactly the amount of troops that they can hold in their infirmary. So if someone only had like 80,000 infirmary space, they only send up to 80,000 troops. But you fill that person up with as much reinforcements as possible. Hopefully that person has a 25 embassy and they can hold 1 million reinforcements. Then the person that has the that is the trap has their leader out. Hopefully they're online, but if they're not, then I'd recommend sheltering your leader. You don't lose anything. Make sure they take all their resources out, but they sit there and they take the attacks. They only get wounded troops, and the person that's attacking them only loses troops. So technically it's a trap in a way that you're not losing anything, but the person that's attacking you is, and all it does is make them upset that they lost troops and they didn't kill anything. If the person's online, they can have their leader out and they can just eat attacks until it's not worth it anymore, and they can shield because they don't have battle fury, and that person just lost a lot of troops attacking something that didn't have the possibility of even killing any troops. Alright, and the last advanced tip that I have is hiding the max amount of troops possible. So if I was to go 410 miles away, right? Oh, I can't even go 410 miles away that way. So 410 miles away, let's zoom up a little bit here. And I was going to go to a resource tile, right? This is more so, the reason this is advanced is because this really only applies to people that have research done, and I'll show you which researches I'm talking about. So I'd click on a resource tile, right? And I'd select heroes, and I'd send as many troops as possible. Now notice I don't have a troop boost pop right now, right? But I can send 300,000 troops to this because there's a research that allows you to send more troops. So if I was to pop a troop boost, I can send 450,000 troops to this resource tile. Now if you send your leader to this, yes, you are at risk to get your leader captured, but at the same time, it's going to be hard for someone to solo 450,000 troops and take your leader. So this is a good way to hide troops. They go for these. I would recommend sending one of your slowest troops. So for me, it would be a heroic, at least one heroic fighter, right? So it'd take an hour to get there, an hour to get back, and I would have gathering time that I have to have on that tile. So the higher the resource tile, the better. But for something like this, I could hide up to, I think it's 3.15 million troops on tiles. If you have 8 armies, you can hide more. So I'm gonna go over hide what researches you need to be able to do this. So under the research, you go to army leadership, and right here there's a more gatherers research, and this lets you send more gatherers to resource tiles. And so if you pop a troop boost, and you can send even more troops to those tiles. So that's just a small recommendation. Maybe that's something that also is good if like someone gets rallied, they get online, and you might want to hide troops or something like that. You can send to resource tiles and send more than if you were to just reinforce people. Alright, so next thing we're going to go over is defending an ally that's getting attacked or rallied. So if you were online and all of a sudden someone started getting rallied, what do you do? Well, first of all, someone should leave the guild. One person should leave the guild, right? That person is gonna one troop that person that's getting attacked with their leader. Hopefully it's someone that's level 60. If not, hopefully the highest level person that possibly can send. And before that hit lands, you want reinforcement, like at least one reinforcement in there. Why do you want that? Because you want to know what formation your teammate's using. This is going to help you know what troops to send to help your teammate out. Alright, so let's say that you put the reinforcement, that one reinforcement in there. The only reason you only need it to be one reinforcement is because you might not be sending the right troop type. So send one troop, that one troop hit from the person who left the guild hits. The person that's getting rallied gets the leader. You know what formation it is. Let's say it's cavalry phalanx. What do you do? Alright, so get that person back in the guild. Everyone reinforces with the same tier as the lowest tier of troop or cavalry in this instance that the person has. Because they're using a cavalry phalanx, their cavalry are going to be in the front of the attack. So you want to take troop loss, 1 million wounded for the person that's getting rallied. So let's say they have T3 and T4 reinforced with T3 cavalry. If they have 4 million T1 cavalry and 2 million T3 cavalry and 1 million T4, that's when you reinforce with T4, only T4. That is the only case. If they have a shit ton of T1 of that troop type that's gonna get hit, reinforce with T4. The reason for this is because all their T1 are gonna take losses. There's nothing you can do about that. You're gonna reinforce until all their T1 are gone, and then you're gonna reinforce with T3. If it looks like the second hit's gonna take out their T1 and start working into the T3, then reinforce with T3. That way you take the loss after their T1 die. Something else to take into account, if that troop type runs out because they're offline for however long, it might be good to reinforce with infantry rather than cavalry or archers. It just depends on what their troop composition looks like, and you can get that from the breakdown after you eat that first hit from that person that's giving up the leader. And don't forget, that person needs to leave. If that person gets burned, someone needs to leave the guild and hit that person again and give them a leader before each rally. Something else to take into account for that, you're gonna want to make sure that you try and scout the person that's rallying, because if they don't have anti-scout, you might know what they're sending, and so you might be able to determine whether or not they're sending something that's going to be good for the composition that your teammates using, or their formation that they're using. Though you can't really do much to help it. If they log in, maybe you can tell them, hey, switch to this formation, let's eat this rally, and then move on from there. Alright, so last thing about defending someone getting rallied, if it's a high might player, let's say they're 700 million, 500 million even, and the guild that's rallying you is trying to fill their prison, have another big player, or anyone for that matter, garrison them and eat those one troop attacks. That garrison will send the prisoners that are going to that guy's prison to your prison, and you can just release them. If you release them, you can eat an infinite amount of troops or heroes. So you just keep releasing the heroes. If someone big sends you one, just keep it. But you release the little 100 mil players or the 10 mil guys, all those little small guys, just release those prisoners. Another option is to have someone else garrison, but I think releasing prisoners is a lot smarter. Alright, and the last thing we're going to go over is hiving. Pros and cons of hiving. Do I think you should do it? Do I think you shouldn't do it? So let's go into that. So I'm going to show you guys a hive that I recently hit. Okay, actually it was at Comet Fort. Alright, so at Comet Fort there's a hive over here. It's pretty big, right? So here's a hive, right? What are some pros of having a hive and commencing hiving, right? So, one, you have close allies, right? You can send RSS to each other really easily. You can send RSS to the bank. Everyone's close to the bank. It's super easy. You know if someone's getting attacked. If someone ports in and starts attacking them, you know it. You can tell them, hey, come online, you're getting attacked, or you can try and reinforce them or garrison them before they get hit. Monster hunting. If you want to hunt a monster, let's say they want to hunt this level 4 monster, there's a lot of close people that can continuously hit this monster rather than being spread out. Last thing is darkness rallies. It's easier to fill up a rally when everyone's close together rather than spread out. What are some cons of having a hive? One, your enemies know where you're at. If I looked at this guild and I saw, hey, DGM has a 164 million might player, I'm gonna keep an eye on this hive to see when they come back and when they unshield. I know exactly where their hive's at, so I know at some point in time they're gonna come back to this hive. If they're not here right now, they're gonna come back. So your enemies can keep an eye on you really easy. 2, there's holes in hives, right? There's a hole right here, there's a hole right here, there's a hole right here. So if I wanted to mass attack this hive with my guild, I could port right here and start hitting these camps. Then other people can port in and start hitting these other castles, and we can burn this hive in an instant. How does this happen? You start off with this big nice hive where all these castles are at, and then people port out to go do stuff. Then someone puts a camp there. That camp is not a castle. It can be removed really easily. So it's easier for people to attack and burn and zero your guild if your teammates aren't defensive. If you're not defensive and you're not hiding all your troops, your shield comes off. It's easy for a guild to burn and take all your RSS. I personally do not like hiving. The only reason that I can say this is because I hate when there's not a hive. If I see a guild and I look, let's say I go to rankings and I see that there's this guild, right? And I'm like, man, WD1, White Dragons 1, I want to find that guild and burn them. And they don't have a hive. It's really annoying for me as a player because I have to go around and I have to look for individual castles. And at the same time, I can't even burn their hive if they piss me off. I can only burn one person at a time, and that's if I even find them. Then I have to waste ports porting to each one of those players to actually try and hit them. Also, like, I know that you're close together so you can do all these different things, but you can also send RSS far away. You can start a rally and fill a darkness rally from far away. You can do a darkness rally shielded. So your leader being gone during that darkness rally, because you're doing a rally, doesn't hurt you. And you don't need to speed up troops for a darkness rally because there's no rush to try and burn it. You can do it forever. It's not like it's going to shield. Monster hunting I can understand, but at the same time, if you really want to hunt that monster that bad, people can port to you, or you can port to where other people are at to hunt a monster, or they can send from far away and hit it. I've helped out people by sending a monster hunt from like over 300 miles. So I personally don't see a reason with not having a hive and not letting your enemy know where a mass majority of your guild is, because it's really annoying when someone's sitting in your hive and waiting for people to drop their shields. And that's all I have for defense. If anyone else has any other tips for anybody, please comment and leave it in there. If I missed anything or I was wrong about something, please let me know. Leave a comment. I'll get back to you. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like. If it was helpful in any way, I'm really glad that I'm helping a lot of people out. But that's it, and hope you guys like it, and I hope you guys like the next video I'm coming out with. I'm gonna do some free-to-play stuff, free-to-play gear, and what packs to buy if you are deciding to spend. I've had some people saying that they're thinking about spending, but they don't know what to spend on to max out what they're gonna be buying. So I'll be going over that. Please look forward to it, and I hope to see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.